So to start off, Absolute Batman issue number 1 is awesome. It is so kick-ass. It's such a fun interpretation of this character. Super dark. It reminded me a little bit of Zack Snyder's Snyderverse. It reminded me a little bit of Matt Reeves' The Batman, but even darker than those two. It starts off with Alfred Pennyworth motorcycling into Gotham. It's a super dark setting, and he goes into this alleyway into this one-room level on kind of like a basement floor. And in the room is just kind of filled with guns, a bed, and a computer. And he kind of looks like he's coming from the John Wick universe. Phones in. There's a handler who's talking to him saying that there's this new violent group in Gotham, the Party Animals, who are killing everybody. The murder rate's up 70%, and that these killings are essentially as brutal and as violent as they come, killing women, children, families. And then we pan to a city hall where it introduces Jim Gordon, who's now the mayor in this Gotham. And the towns in Gotham essentially is letting him have it. They're saying, how are you letting this happen? The old mayor, who was a crooked mayor, wouldn't have let this happen. He would have stood up for us more. The Party Animals blow the doors open, quite literally. There's a bomb that goes off. The Party Animals come in, guns blazing. They shoot at Commissioner Gordon. And then all of a sudden, one of the Party Animals is ripped backwards with kind of like this dark rope. And then we pan out to the outside of Town Hall, where Batman is kind of hanging, quite literally looking like a bat in a tree. Bullets are flying off his chest. The Party Animals are shooting at him. And then he comes down out of it and quickly takes out all the Party Animals. As the Party Animals are kind of retreating down the stairs, there's this massive, imposing figure, kind of look like, Bane in the comics, who's coming up with a meat cleaver. So this is kind of, I guess, the big muscle of this Party Animals group. And then Batman whips out this massive axe with essentially his bat insignia is the axe, and just violently cuts this Party Animal's arm off. Again, super dark interpretation of this character that many of us aren't used to seeing, but I personally dig this character quite a bit, and the grotesqueness of all the action in this comic. And then Alfred confronts him for the first time. He comes up behind him with his prized shotgun, essentially trying to get over on him. Batman quickly subdues him, takes his shotgun, and then essentially speeds away. And then it goes into a little pan of Batman's background. It shows his childhood where he went with his dad to a zoo. And this is actually the tragic story for his dad. There was a gunman who came to the zoo. His dad hid all the kids in a bat enclosure, and then the gunman takes out his dad. But in this iteration of Batman, his mom was never there and his mom lives. So then it goes forward to Alfred's tracking Bruce. He learns more about his upbringing. He was this star athlete. Obviously, he's in a much more humble upbringing. He doesn't come from means. His dad, who passed away, was a teacher. His mom's a social worker. So he's kind of getting everything, out of the mud, per se, and wasn't necessarily given all these resources at the beginning of his life like we've come to know. So again, he's a stud athlete, studied every type of STEM, field out there, military history, socio-cultural history, and used all of these tools to become this war machine that he's using now against the Party Animals. And then we finally get to the end of the comic where Alfred finds his quote-unquote bat cave. It's at the top of this high rise. Alfred then confronts him again with the pistol this time, and Batman quickly flings around that same shotgun that Alfred had to the back of his head earlier in the comic. And you think that Batman's probably just going to, like we think with his normal lure, try to disarm Alfred again and then get away. Nope. Shoots a shotgun right in Alfred's face and blows Alfred backwards, and then throws the shotgun back at him and goes away in his motorcycle. But Alfred gets up, still very bloodied, almost just looks like he got shot with a bunch of pellets, and then he figures out that Bruce modified the gun to be non-lethal, so it at least does go back to the lore a little bit for Batman and not killing. And then it finishes with an epilogue. Alfred talking to his handler group again, and he's asking about this person he was tracking earlier before he came to Gotham, and this group said that they can't locate him anymore. He's in the Philippines, and they're talking about this individual. He said he trained with the League of Assassins, essentially the League of Shadows. If you've seen the Dark Knight trilogy, that's the same group. This guy's like the 30th richest guy in the world, so it kind of sounds like Bruce Wayne in a way. And then out of the helicopter comes this individual, and he's called the quote-unquote Joker, and the twist with him is he laughs at nothing. So a lot of lore changes in this comic for pretty much every character involved. Again, super dark, super violent, twist between Zack Snyder, twist between Matt Reeves, but a really fun adaptation of this character if you're looking for a very dark John Wicky Batman to pick up in a comic book store.